Kataka-taka, inaasahan naman natin na magdedeklara talaga siya at mula po ng nakaraang ilang linggo ay maliwanag na tatakbo naman siya bilang Pangulo. At so, ayan, makikita nyo, dahan-dahan, lumiliwanag ang sitwasyon sa politika dahil lahat kami napipilitan na nga mag-decide at mag-deklara dahil palapit na tayo sa pag-file ng COC. So, it is not a surprise. It is very well expected, and that means that is one element of the political terrain that has become more clear, and so that will help, I think, the others, such as me, the other candidates, to decide what this is exactly what we're going to do. And what will our involvement be in 2016. So that is the natural sequence. Pero kahapon meron din kaming meeting ng Nationalista Party at binilang namin ng ilang araw bago sa pag-deadline ng filing. Palagay ko marami pang mangyayari dito dahil marami pang nakikipag-usap, marami pang nagpaplano ng mga alliances. Kaya palagay ko, marami pa tayong makikita mga bagong development sa larangan ng politika.
Okay, so thank you, Sir Senator. Before we proceed, yes, sir. Sir Ernie Visconti.
Senator.
Alam ko na, sasabihin ko sa inyo. Ibig sabihin, no, hindi mo na ako sinasabi sa inyo na announcement, ibig sabihin, wala pang date. Alam niyo, yung mga pagdeklara na ganyan, hindi ninilihin yan. We announce it, we will announce it. So, and once we have a date, once I have a decision, then we will let it be known not only to the media but to the entire country.
Okay, so next question.
Issue on the can affect the passing of the Bangsamoro basic law regarding about the.
It already has. What happened there is no such thing as an alternative truth. There is truth and there is falsehood. There is no such thing as an alternative truth. I do not know what the President is talking about. It is a very strange attitude to take, where the Commander-in-Chief believes the enemies of his men rather than his men. So that kind of disloyalty to your own servicemen, to your own uniformed services, is disturbing and cannot be of any advantage, not to us who are continuously still trying to strive for the truth, not for the policemen who are trying to do their jobs in the face of great difficulty, and not anyone in government, because now we are being told that everything that we heard are lies, and I do not agree with that, and so I do not know why the President even mentioned this, because it makes absolutely no sense to me at all. It makes no sense to anyone who has listened to any of the hearings. The President expects loyalty from his men. The men expect also loyalty from the President.
Thank you, sir.
And may susuportahan na po ba tayo as President or any?
Ako? Well, that is a party decision yan. Hindi decision ng isang individual lamang. Siyempre, lahat ng mga bagay-bagay na yan, lalo na pag pinag-uusapan ay palapit tayo sa halalan, ay kailangan talagang mag-decide ang buong partido. Ngayon, kung minsan mayroong mga member na hindi sang-ayon, ay yan depende na dyan yung party leadership. Pero sa ngayon, ang Nationalista Party ay hindi pa nagdedeklara kung sino magiging presidential candidate. Pero without doubt, kahit ano pang mangyari, ang Nationalista Party will be involved, and maghahanap yan ng kung walang presidential candidate sa loob na manggagaling sa partido, ay tiyak na maghahanap kami ng aming isusuportahan. So that is pagka maging mas maliwanag na ang sitwasyon, dahil Meron pang mga pangalan na lumilitaw, na lumulutang na hindi pa natin natiyak kung ano bang kanilang plano. So that's why, although alam ko atat na yung media, alam ko yung ating mga ibang kasamaan, walang isa lang ang tanong, ano bang plano? Pagka alam namin ang plano, sasabihin namin sa inyo. At yung Nacionalista Party sa ngayon, siguro we are still in consultations, hindi naman negotiation, but in consultations with all the different groups to see exactly kung ano yung pinakamagandang plataforma na para sa amin ay dapat nating suportahan.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello, I hope my accent isn't confusing, so let me know if I need to repeat anything.
No, I think we watched the BBC and we've gotten used to it.
Okay, good. You said that you personally are affected by asthma.
Yes.
Asthma is not only exacerbated by traffic air pollution, but also from burning fossil fuels, predominantly coal. What is your position on the 600 megawatt proposed coal plant in Subic Bay?
There have been great advances in technology in cleaning up the not only coal-fired but all the traditional oil-fired plants power plants around the world. And
do you need clean coal?
I'm sorry?
Do you need clean coal?
Well, it can only get so clean, but there's the carbon recovery for coal-fired plants has improved a great deal, and it is something that we need to look into very closely, simply because of the ready availability of coal. Now, our coal in the Philippines is a little bit on the high sulfur side, so it's not particularly good in terms of the environment. So that is why the technologies are available. I have been to coal plants in several countries and was quite impressed by
You support it?
by how clean, depending on the technology that is applied. There are technologies that we can say are at least safe for the environment, and there is a large percentage of recovery of the carbon. And as long as that is applied here, then it is something we are in dire need of, an extra power generation, and so we have to explore every possible solution that is available around the world, and that's why besides alternative energies, we still have to go back to the traditional power plants, because there are issues. I mean, I come from Ilocos Norte, where we have a great deal of wind power, but the wind.
Can there be wind farms here or solar?
The wind farms are not the location of wind farms are not decided by are not a political decision. It is a decision of.
What decision is it then?
Nature. Nature will tell you where wind farms are in fact viable. You cannot say, because I am the governor of this place, I want to have wind farms. If there is not just windy. There is a whole other raft of technical requirements for a wind farm to be viable, commercially viable. And if it's not commercially viable, then there's no point to it, because no one will invest. So that is something that is. Although we have a great many wind turbines and solar generation, we know that the wind does not blow every moment of every day. The sun does not shine in the nights, and so we still have to cover our basic load. We still have to have these traditional power plants. But hand in hand, the chairman has just explained to me that there will be one of the largest, and he's claiming we are now competing with Ilocos Norte, largest alternative energy production in the country. So I'm going to go back to Ilocos. I'm going to do some number crunching, and I'll come back and say if it's true. If it's not, magpapatayo na kami ng mas maraming wind farm para mag-competition. But that is a good, healthy competition. It's good for the environment, and hand in hand with intelligent and enlightened development of traditional sources of power. These are things that we need to explore. These are things that we are in great need of.
Just one last point. Diesel is not commercially viable in the Philippines, that's why it has huge subsidies. Therefore, couldn't you subsidise renewable energy?
I'm sure, can you subsidize?
Could you not subsidise renewable energy the way that diesel is subsidised? Because diesel is not commercially viable.
There are no direct subsidies, but there are different arrangements that are being given to give advantage to the alternative energies, and those are in the form of, well, the WTO has its carbon credits. There are several tax holidays that are given to the those who are investing in alternative energy. So I think we have done a bit. I certainly think the government could do more. Right now, it is all lip service. We don't have. If you look, none of the alternative energy development projects around the country have a government element. It is all private. So we cannot leave it only to the private sector to develop that very important part of our energy supply. We have to make sure that the government is fully, the government's policy on alternative energy and in power in general is fully integrated, is cohesive. Right now it is not. It is not cohesive. It's all over the place. There's one measure here, there's one measure there. There does not seem to be a single policy or single principle or concept that is being followed right now. And that is what I think is lacking. Because we can see when such government policy is clear and sustainable and enforced consistently over a long term. These are the elements that are important. They must be consistently applied. It must be over the long term. We have seen in other countries how this has been a great assistance to the alternative energy industry. However, with the projections that oil might go down all the way to $20, then that changes the economic picture drastically. And of course, we have to take that into account as well.
If I may just make a comment on that. In the first place, the final decision of Meralco, who is putting up the coal plant, they have reduced the capacity. So they will do 300 megawatt, not 600 megawatt.
Wasn't it 300 to begin with?
Yes, it was, then was raised to 6, but now they've gone up to 300, okay? Secondly, we have made studies and we are to make sure that, number one, they use the latest technology, which is the fluidized bed. Fluidized bed. Okay, what the fluidized bed does, it captures even a greater proportion of the carbon emissions. Number 3, we had special studies done by an independent research outfit, Berkman's, and we told them to measure the carrying capacity of the Subic Bay Freeport in terms of pollutants. And because of our situation also, they came out with a figure of something. My question to them is, how much will a 600 megawatt coal plant affect the carrying capacity of Subic? And they said less than 2%. Less than 2%, yes. Also, so what we're saying is that, you know, Subic is an open area. It's not a confined space like Beijing, no? So you have the Abagat and then you have the Amihan. So the wind constantly dissipates the pollutant. That is the advantage of Subic Bay. I'm not saying that they're not going to produce, they will. But what I'm saying, it's minimal, and the board has taken that into consideration. So it is the latest technology, and we know the effect on Subic Bay. And unfortunately, we do not have many alternatives. Like take, for example, diesel or even nuclear. I mean, those are anathema here in the Philippines. So the other solution is renewable energy. And as the good senator mentioned, on Friday, tomorrow, I'm going to invite all of you to the groundbreaking of the 150 megawatt renewable energy project. This will be done by Emerging Power Incorporated. This is the sister company of Nickel Asia, owned by the Zamora family. It will be 100 megawatt of solar and 50 megawatt of wind. The unfortunate point, again, as mentioned, is that this is not base load.
Yes, that's
because during the day, they cannot provide base load, so we will have to have alternative sources. So it will be a fluctuating. There will be two sources. It will be electricity that we continue to buy from Sual and the renewable energy. So that is going to be the situation. But at least that will reduce again our consumption in terms of the fossil fuels, which we are trying very hard to do. Last point I want to make is that the Philippines is now the highest cost of electricity in the whole Asian region. Japan used to be number one. We are now the highest cost. And for me, this is a big obstacle and deterrent to the foreign investments coming in, because especially for the industries that are heavily reliant on power, they say, wow, this is your cost. And I always counter and tell them, but look at the bright side. The bright side is the Filipino people. Then that is your main asset, because we're not only cheap, we're good. And I think that is the reason why, foreign investors continue to look. But we need to lower the price of power here if we want to really become an emerging dragon, as many people now try to call us. Thank you.
That is what I was saying, that the energy policy needs to be more cohesive, because even if the cost of production comes down, with all the with all the assistance that the government is giving, then the distribution, the transmission, and the transmission cost is really not the problem. It's the distribution. It is down to the electrical cooperatives. They have been the most inefficient part of the system for many years now, and that is something that really needs a major rethink. If we are going to say that we are now a ready supplier of cheap, reliable energy. It is the single. It is always the first complaint of any prospective investor in the Philippines. Your power costs are too high, and your power is too unreliable, and we cannot live with that, and that's why we lose so much in FDI.
Thank you, Sir Senator. Sir Polly.
Polly Lugo from Radyo Natin, Ito Pilipinas, Sir Rich. Sir, question ko po sa inyo. Ito pong problema ng, sa western part ng Zambales, the Scarborough Shoal. Pati Scarborough Shoal. Kasi yung mga fisherman natin dito ay talaga po nakaharas na ng mga Chinese fishermen. So, napakahirap na lang mag-isda. Perhaps, as you said, parehas naman tayong tiga-western part of the Philippines. Maybe they need you as next leadership, next leader, para ma-resolve po itong problema na.
Well, sa akin palagay, yung ating ginawa so far na dinala natin sa arbitration sa UN, yung ating mga conflicting na claims sa West Philippine Sea, lalo na sa China, pero sa iba't ibang bansa, ay palagay ko tama naman yun para masabi natin at mapakita natin kung ano ba talaga ang ating argumento, kung bakit maliwanag sa kasaysayan ng China at ng Pilipinas na itong mga lugar na ito ay talagang bahagi ng Pilipinas. Ngunit sa palagay ko, ang ating kakulangan ay yung pag-usap sa ating mga kaibigan sa China. Merong naging development na hindi yata napansin ng ating DFA. Ang bagong development, ang sinabi ng Chinese ambassador, na handa sila na makipag-usap bilaterally with the Philippines on the basis of international law. Ngayon lang nila sinabi yun. This is the first time that they have ever talked about international UNCLOS. Dati sinasabi lang itong Dash 9 yan. Hindi nila pinapaliwanag kung saan nanggaling yung Dash 9 na yun. Hindi nila pinapaliwanag kung bakit yan ang tamang dapat sundan. Ngayon, dahil meron ng UNCLOS, meron ng baseline, palagay ko may malaki tayong pagkakataon na makipag-usap at sabihin natin, basta't sundan lang natin kung ano yung nasa international law, kung ano yung nasa batas. Ano yung pinagkasunduan doon sa UNCLOS. As an example, nagkaroon din tayo ng conflicting na hindi naman walang isla, kundi sa tubig sa Indonesia. Dahil nag-overlap yung ating economic zone doon sa kanila. Ngunit, with negotiation with Indonesia, nakahanap tayo ng delimitation. Napagkasunduan na natin yung linya kung saan sasabihin natin dito Pilipinas, dito Indonesia. And that is the only way I think that we will finally come to a good solution dito sa problema sa West Philippine Sea. I think that it is an opportunity that we have been given. I think, unfortunately, I do not think that our government is taking full advantage of it. So, palagay ko, dapat udyokin pa rin natin ang ating DFA na makipag-usap na sa China. At basta't maliwanag na ang usapan ay nasa framework ng international law, ng United Nations Charter Law of the Seas. Yun pong clause. I'm sorry?
The people of the Philippines need you to be on a higher position.
Well, that might help. Dahil sa ngayon, hindi tayo pinapakinggan ng mga nasa taas. At hindi, ayaw nilang basta we have taken on a very simplistic and I would have to say short-term and shallow analysis of the problem that we have with China. I think there are many opportunities that we still have to be able to at least begin the resolution of the problem. I would not say that with one meeting, with two meetings, that we will solve everything. But kailangan natin simulan ang usapan para you have to start somewhere. And if you do not start, you will never find the final solution.
Thank you, sir. I would like to acknowledge the arrival ng ating simpatiko at poging mayor ng siyudad ng Olongapo. Sunod sa boss ko, syempre. Mayor Roland Paulino. Yeah. So next question, Randy from Rappler.
Paano nyo haharapin ang mga patikos ng mga mamamayang Pilipino regarding dun sa pagiging diktadorya na nasa likod ng inyong mama?
Ang mga batikos naman yan, sa inyo lang nanggagaling. Hindi naman sa mamamayang Pilipino. Ito ay lahat naman yan ay kung merong kaso, sinasagot namin sa korte. Kung meron talagang ganyan ang sinasabi, ay sinasagot namin hanggat kaya namin. But you have to remember, you have to also acknowledge that all of these things are, when was 1986? 30 years ago. Na-resolve na yan eh. Bumagsak ang gobyerno. Those who were criticizing that, tapos na. So, let's move on. Kailangan natin, ang problema ngayon ay hindi yan ang mga paulit-ulit na binabanggit ng a certain element of the press. At ito naman ang dapat natin pag-usapan ay kung ano ang mga problema sa ngayon at kung ano ang mga may bibigay na solusyon sa ngayon. Ang dami natin problema, yung nabanggit, mga traffic, nabanggit yung problema sa tubig, problema sa kuryente, problema sa MTR, problema sa foreign investment. Marami tayo, problema sa trabaho, problema sa maraming gutom. There are 12 million Filipinos that consider themselves hungry. These are the problems that we should be talking about, not problems that have already been resolved 2 generations ago. Let us go back to what the people voted us into office for, to solve the problems that they face every day, to solve the problems that they to make their lives better. This I think is where the focus should be, and this is what I will continue to talk about.
Thank you, sir. We will be entertaining the last 2 questions. Julie?
Going back, sir, dun sa situation ng mga fisher folks sa Zambales and Pangasinan. As a senator, sir, ano po yung moves na ginawa ninyo, if ever, kung meron man po, na para tulungan itong mga fisher folks natin dito sa Zambales?
Ang problema ng ating mga mangingisda is with China, ang relasyon natin sa China. That is foreign policy. Ang foreign policy ay nasa ilalim ng presidente. It is the president who dictates foreign policy, who assesses and determines what foreign policy is. And as senators, what we can do is to provide advice. As senators, what we can do is to make laws that to try and help any situation. However, when it comes to foreign policy, yan ay nasa ilalim ng executive. Wala kaming, we can, as I said, pwede kaming magsalita, pwede kaming mag-assess, ngunit wala kaming, sa Constitution natin, maliwanag na maliwanag, foreign policy is under the President. the President, in my view, if you ask my opinion, ang dapat niyang gawin ay baguhin na ang kanyang polisiya towards China. At pag-usapan na natin, at kagaya yung nabanggit ko nga, may pagkakataon tayo, dahil itong very first time na nangyari ito, na nagkaroon ng pagkakataon na sinabi ng ating Chinese ambassador sa Pilipinas, na sinasabi na ang usapan pwede nang gawin sa ilalim ng international law. Dahil sa international law, tama tayo eh. Tama tayo. Dati, ang pinipilit lang nila, yung kanila, may linya silang yung 9-dash line na sinasabi nila. Kung international law, sakop lahat yung mga dating traditionally na alam natin na ang bahagi ng Pilipinas. Kaya, kung aantayin lang natin yung arbitration, masyado matagal. Baka matagalan. Kailangan talaga para nga matulungan ang ating mga naghihirap. At dati naman walang problema ganun eh. Before we undertook this foreign policy against China, and I have to say against China, before we undertook that foreign policy, we had no problem. Yung mga mangingisda ng China, yung mga mangingisda ng Pilipinas, nagsasama-sama sila. Bababa sila sa isla, kakain sila, tapos mag-iwan, fishing na naman sila. Pero nung nagkaroon tayo ng belligerent attitude towards China, ayaw natin makipag-usap ng bilateral, kaya diyan nagsimula ng problema. Maybe it's time to take a step back and review that policy and tignan natin kung ano siguro ang maaring gawin, such as the beginning of bilateral talks with China, within the framework of international law. Dahil kagaya na sabi ko, as far as international law is concerned, tama yung ating sinasabi. So kung masimula natin yun, let us say first, umpisa, first item on the agenda ng usapan, yung mga fishermen namin, huwag nyo nang guluhin. Nangingisda lang naman yan eh. Wala namang mga baril yan na manggugulo doon sa inyo. Pabayaan na lang ninyo na mag-fishing. Kagaya ng dati. Kagaya ng ginagawa natin, that's international waters anyway. Di ba? So let us revert to that position. Dahil talagang alam kong na maraming nahihirapan dahil sa bagong policy ng gobyerno. At they will find an arrangement with that. Saka na natin pag-usapan yung mga mas malalaking bagay na kung ano yung mga kasaysayan, what happened 300 years ago, kung anong mga treaty na kailangan sundan, etc. etc. So, I think that the first part of that, and sangayon siguro, palagay ko, papayag naman ng China, basta sabihin na, sige, pag-usapan lang natin yung mga fisherman natin. Yun ang una natin pag-usapan. Pag naayos natin yung mga problema, that's one step. And not a small step, that's one step. Malaking bagay yun. So, pag doon nagsimula, at least kayo, na mga fisher folk, ay mas magiging maliwanag at mas magiging peaceful yung inyong trabaho. And that, I think, should be the first item on the agenda. What do we do with our fisher folk? And let us return to that peaceful coexistence that we had before.
Wow, can we get an applause for that? Okay, so, Mr. Alan Macatula.
Stand on the issue on EDCA that is pending in the Supreme Court.
I believe the EDCA is a treaty that should be ratified by the Senate. It is not an executive agreement as the palace seems to insist. Kasi maliwanag na maliwanag that it is an agreement between two sovereign nations, and in our constitution every treaty agreement must be ratified by the Senate. Whereas in this case, ginawa nilang lahat na sabihin na ang EDCA ay hindi kailangan i-ratify ng Senado. Sa palagay ko, hindi tama yung interpretasyon na yun. Pangalawa, kung ito ba ay labag sa konstitusyon na magkaroon tayo ng basis. Kung mabasahin mo yung EDCA, makikita mo, talagang iniwasan nilang maggamitin yung salitang basis. And they say it is a rotational presence. Lahat naman ng basis, rotational presence. Yun, nandito yung Amerikano, hindi naman sila naiiwan dito na habang buhay. Nandito sila, habang duty nila dito, tapos lilipat, mag-rotate, bago na naman ang dadating. So, it is questionable at best. It is questionable to say that these are not bases that are being established. So, we will leave it to the Supreme Court to determine that. As a further point on the EDCA, para sa aking palagay, parang luging-lugi tayo sa usapan doon sa naging arrangement with the Americans. Dahil they can come into any base in the Philippines. Basta hindi tayo magsasabi sa kanila kung saan sila papasok. Sila magsasabi sa atin kung saan nila gustong pumasok. And that is why we have to be very careful dahil nga nandiyan palaki ng palaki in China. Its military power is increasing. Its geopolitical interests are widening. Kaya kailangan natin magbalanse. We have to take a more balanced approach in our foreign policy, especially when it comes to the Americans and the Chinese. Dahil yung sa laki ng dalawang bansa, yun ng Amerika at saka ng China, magduruan lang yung dalawang yun. Wala na tayo, durog na tayo. Kaya kailangan maingat tayo. We cannot say, we have to stop saying, ay, kampi ako sa Amerika. Ay, hindi, kampi ako sa China. Dapat ang pag-iisip natin, kampi ako sa Pilipinas. Ano ang maganda sa Pilipinas? Huwag nating isipin ano yung maganda sa Amerika. Marami silang nagtatrabaho para dyan. Huwag natin isipin ano yung maganda sa China. Marami sila doon nagtatrabaho para sa China. I work for the Philippines. I do not work for the United States. I do not work for China. I work for the Philippines. We have to keep that thought constant in our head. What is good for the Philippines? That is the national interest should be the guiding principle that we are following in our foreign policy. Unfortunately, right now, as I said, we have taken a simplistic approach to the geopolitical situation in our country. It's not a simple problem. It cannot be. It is not going to be resolved immediately. It is not going to be resolved by amateurs. It has to be resolved by people who understand the problem, who have experience in diplomacy, and who know what are the available options and what are the best options for the Philippines. Saka na yung mga iba, unahin natin muna yung Pilipinas.
So, sabi niyo po nga po kanina na unahin natin yung mga pangunahing problema dito sa Pilipinas. So, isa po sa mga naging problema natin at talagang pasong-paso na ang mga mamamayang Pilipino about po sa corruption. So, if ever po na kayo po ay tatakbo or magiging president po ng Philippines, at just in case lang, pero ano po yung pwede po ninyong, or masasabi po ninyo doon sa mga korupto, lalo na po yung issue po ngayon sa customs?
Well, ang lahat naman, bilang senador, sapat ang batas natin eh. Kumpleto naman ang batas natin sa anti-corruption, sa grafted corruption. Lahat yan naman. Sundan lang natin ng masinsinan kung ano ba talagang nakasulat sa batas. Pangalawa, huwag natin ipinupolitika ang anti-corruption drive. Pag sinasabi natin, tayo hahabulin natin lahat ng mga korap, hahabulin natin lahat ng magnanakaw, huwag yung kalaban lang. Pati yung kapandido mo, kung talagang mapatunayan na sila ay gumagawa ng kalokohan, dapat kasuhan din. Pero sa ngayon, hindi yata pantay ang trato, depende sa kulay ng politika. Pag napapasukan ang batas, pag napapasukan ang pag-implementa ng batas, ang pag-enforce ng batas ng politika, dyan tayo nagkakaproblema. And that is the situation we have now. The law must be seen to apply to everyone. Walang immune. Yan ang importante. Sa ngayon, meron mga siguro, masasabi natin, meron mga matataas na opisyal dyan, siguro ang pakiramdam nila, immune sila. And for political reasons. Tanggalin natin yun. Pag tinanggal natin yung pagpamumulitika sa pag-enforce ng batas, palagay ko malaking hakbang yun para yung mabawasan ang corruption sa hindi lang sa pamahalaan, pati sa private sector.
Okay, so thank you very much. With that, we'd like to thank our